Saturn is shifting signs in the middle of February 2026. It has just spent 2.5 years in the sign of Pisces. So Saturn is the planet of should. It's a bit of a pain in the ass because it brings in hard work, obstacles, restrictions, limitations, all that kind of stuff. It's generally not a good time, but it's one of those things that you can lean into. You know how we sort of innately know that sometimes things that are hard are good for us. And that is definitely what Saturn does. Wherever Pisces is in your chart, the last 2.5 years, Saturn has been transiting through that part of the sky. When she shifts signs, or when he shifts signs into the next sign of Aries, you're going to get some relief. Some of those Saturn problems and obstacles will be removed or will just sort of suddenly miraculously be solved. So you want to look to see where Pisces is in your chart and understand what house this is impacting for you, to understand what life topics this has been playing out in. I do have a blog post on how to find where a sign and houses are in your chart. So use that to help you understand which house we're talking about. So Saturn definitely comes with a win-lose kind of vibe, but really it's kind of a lose-win vibe. What I mean is that usually Saturn comes into a part of our chart and we lose. Usually there's some hardships and problems that have turned up in that area of our life, and life gets serious. Like it's a bit of a test. How have you been doing in that area of life? So Saturn might bring some limitations and some seriousness and you need for effort and energy and attention. Hopefully then what has happened over the last couple of years is you've had to deal with those problems. So you've put something in place to solve things or resolve things. What do I mean? Well, here's an example. Saturn for me has been in my first house for the last couple of years. And the first house is about yourself, your personality, and your body. And definitely when Saturn goes through your first house, you can be aware of the aging process because limitations come in, restrictions come in. Another thing that happened when Saturn entered my first house was almost immediately I had an accident and I sprained my ankle really badly. So I was physically restricted. I was limping around for about 18 months and I just couldn't quite solve it. As a result, though, I joined the gym and started to get fit. And this is not something that I ordinarily would consider, like I would not consider myself to be a gym person. So this is definitely something new that came in with the Saturn influence. So that was the good side. So I had the lose-win situation. The trick is now that as Saturn moves on into the next house, we're going to have a whole new set of topics kind of unearthed. Saturn's going to come in and cause some problems there. So perhaps it's going to be great as it leaves the house of Pisces. We're going to have some things feeling better. Life might feel a bit lighter in that area. But what you do want to do is retain the lessons that you learned during the Saturn transit. For me, I want to keep going to the gym. But how do I do that when Saturn moves on? I did notice last year we had just a few months of the year where Saturn moved into Aries and gave us a little preview. In those few months, I stopped going to the gym as regularly. I didn't have as much self-discipline. I went on holidays, I got sick, just things cropped up and I sort of got really out of the habit of going. So this year, while Saturn has been back in Pisces, I've tried to instigate a bit more structure that will help me maintain those good habits and that good Saturn stuff, even once she moves on. You know, I've signed up to an app, I've got some personal training, so I'm a bit more accountable. And Saturn loves when you put in some effort and when you're accountable about things. So that's the trick. That's what you want to do as Saturn is moving on now, is you want to keep all the good stuff you've learned from her transit, but you can happily say goodbye to all the stuff that, you know, you can leave behind now as she moves on. So Saturn going through a house or a part of your chart is a lose-win situation. The challenge it brings can trigger resilience and personal growth and wisdom. It can test your mettle a little and help you to put some better structure in place. And that's everything you want to have learnt and incorporate and take forward with you. the best way to do that is really just pay attention to what's been happening the last couple of years. Like step back and analyze your life. What have you learned about? What has been tested for you? And these are all of the things that you want to acknowledge and congratulate yourself on. You've done a great job. You got through Saturn, a tricky transit, which only comes around like every 28 years. So you've gotten through a couple of years of difficulty in this area of your life. So take the lessons, take the wins, and get ready from mid-February. Saturn is going to move on into a new area of testing something new in your life.